It's time. It's time. Time for the big giveaway.
This is just the same old stuff.
Halloween has come. All you lucky kids with silver shamrock masks, gather round your TV set, put on your masks, and watch.
Halloween, this is Halloween.
Yo, dog! I heard you like retcons, so we're gonna retcon your retcon with a retcon so you can watch this retcon! Good evening, everyone. I am the Kaiju no Kami, and tonight I am going to conclude Halloween month with a look at 2018's Halloween. In 2016, Blumhouse had revealed that they had acquired the rights to the Halloween franchise from Miramax and had teamed up with Universal to make a new film that was going to be a direct sequel to the original and ignore even Halloween 2. This was a bold move given how ingrained people are with having Laurie and Michael being siblings. But I most welcomed given that this concept had been done to death, especially when it was reused again in Rob Zombie's adaptation. To make it even better, Jaime Lee Curtis signed on to reprise the role of Laurie once again while John Carpenter produced the film. It was the reunion fans had initially hoped for back when H2O was announced, but this time it was really happening. Additionally, comedian director David Gordon Green decided to pull out his inner Jordan Peele by proving that once again a comedian can do horror better than many horror directors can. Thus, the movie was ripe with energy and commitment that would allow it to possibly become one of the best sequels in the franchise. The question is, does Halloween 2018 have what it takes to surpass its brethren in shitty sequels? Or is it just another flop added to the pile? Let's watch to find out. Our movie kicks off with two podcasters.
We're investigative journalists.
Right. That may be the scariest thing about this movie. Two podcasters thinking they're journalists. I kid. Anyway, Aaron and Dana, played by Jefferson Hall and Ryan Reese, are at Smith's Grove to meet with Michael Myers, who was apprehended after Loomis shot him off the Doyle's balcony. There, they are greeted by Haluk Billinger's Dr. Sartain.
You're the new Loomis.
Pretty much. Who takes them to Michael.
Following your case for years and still know very little about you.
Aaron tries to get Michael to speak for the first time ever without success. He pulls out Michael's old mask, which causes the rest of the inmates to go crazy.
Say something, Michael.
After their first failure, our journalistic duo bribe Laurie into speaking with them, but all they do is piss her off when they try to discuss her PTSD.
2 failed marriages, rocky relationship with your daughter and granddaughter.
Time's up. I'll accept my payment.
From there, the movie shifts into the life of Laurie's daughter and granddaughter, the Nelson family. There is the father Ray, who has what is probably the most awkward piece of dialogue the entire movie.
Oh man, I got peanut butter on my penis.
Ew, Dad.
I could have done without that piece of dialogue, but since this is the low point of the movie right here, I guess I can be okay with that. Karen and their daughter Allison. The familial trio are portrayed by Toby Huss, Archer and Ant-Man star Judy Greer, and newcomer Andy Matichak. Allison is one of her high school's top students as she is being inducted into the Honor Society that night, which allows us to see the tension in Karen's relationship with her mother.
Did you invite grandmother like you said you would?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I talked to her yesterday. She's not gonna be able to come, honey. I'm sorry.
Really?
Allison heads to school with her friendly couple Vicky and Dave, which is where we learn about Michael not being Laurie's brother.
Wasn't it her brother who cold-blooded mutilated all those teenagers?
No. That's just a bit that some people made up to make him feel better, I think.
Along with how pathetic the body count of the original film is compared to today's standards.
All things considered, there's a lot worse stuff that's happening today. I mean, a couple people getting killed by one guy with a knife is not that big of a deal.
That's true. Though a little sad when you think about it.
Like when you look at Friday the 13th Part 1. It's pretty tame by today's standards.
Adding further to the more than likely hit list is Allison's boyfriend Cameron and his best friend Oscar, who for some reason looks like the dude that plays Foggy Nelson in the Daredevil Netflix TV show, and I don't know why. Allison is sitting in the same classroom her grandmother went to in the same seat by the same window when she sees Laurie from afar.
His message is totally hopeful, even in the most disparaging of conditions.
After class, she visits her grandmother and Laurie hands her the money she received from Aaron and Dana and tells her to have fun with it. She then inquires exactly why Laurie does what she does.
It cost you your family.
If the way I raised your mother means that she hates me, but that she's prepared for the horrors of this world, then I can live with that.
That night, Laurie watches Sartain, Michael, and a bunch of inmates be taken onto a prison bus that is going to transfer them to a new facility, while Allison has dinner with Cameron and her family to celebrate her achievement. Laurie joins in on the fun, only to break down moments later.
Sorry. I saw him. The shape. I wanted to kill him.
Okay, that's enough, Laurie.
I didn't know what to do.
While this is happening, a father and son on a hunting trip come across the prison bus parked into a ditch and a bunch of inmates running around the highway. The father goes to investigate the matter while the son calls the police. The child then proceeds to search for his father until he gets to the bus and accidentally shoots Sartain.
Don't shoot!
He flees back to the car, unaware he is about to meet his fate. Will Patton plays Officer Hawkins, who receives a distress call and makes his way to the crash site where he finds Sartain alive.
I've been shot. All right, stay with me. Help's on the way. What happened in here? Did he escape?
Yeah, baby, yeah!
The next morning, Hawkins reveals to the sheriff that Michael Myers was on the bus, who responds with this.
What are we gonna do? Cancel Halloween?
Actually, yes. In one timeline, they did do just that. Aaron and Dana visit Judith's grave. Unbeknownst to them, Michael was there watching it, which allows him to follow them to a gas station they stop at in order to retrieve his mask after he slaughters the duo along with 2 station employees. At long last, Halloween night has arrived and Michael goes on a vicious rampage in one of the neighborhoods to lure Laurie out. Regrettably, 2 of the victims end up being Vicky and Dave, the former of whom was babysitting a sweet, innocent boy with a mouth.
If I had some other kind of babysitter, she'd be reading me a story. I wouldn't be up clipping my nasty ass toenails.
Go to bed.
You used to be cool. We used to be friends.
I have to say, I really like the banter between the two before Vicky meets her end.
I know you talking about smoking weed. Don't lie to me. That's against the rules. I'm telling my mom.
Well, I'm gonna tell your mom about your browser history.
You better not.
You can get me in trouble, I can get you in trouble.
Boogeyman's in this house.
Okay, alright. Come on, I got you. Let's check it out.
Send Dave first.
I especially love when the child runs back upstairs to see if he can help Vicky and then replies with this.
No! Julian! I'll go get help! You go up there! You're gonna get killed, Dave!
Laurie and Hawkins arrive on the scene, and yet Michael still manages to escape. This leads to Laurie meeting Sartain in person before she and the cops bring Ray and Karen to her house.
What's this?
It's my childhood.
Moments earlier, and at the same time, we get to see Cameron and Allison at the school dance dressed up as a gender-bent Bonnie and Clyde. Allison steps away to take a call from Vicky and finds Cameron kissing another girl upon her return. Cameron gets pissed and throws her phone into some pudding, which forces Allison to leave the school.
Fucking precious phone.
What the fuck? You gonna get that?
Oscar follows in the hopes of hooking up with her, taking her through a backyard as a shortcut across the neighborhood, only for his desire to end in failure.
What the fuck?
You're not with Cameron anymore.
That does not mean I want to be with you.
Allison storms off, unaware that Michael was right behind them. She returns to see what Oscar is freaking out about, only to find him dead and Michael on the other side.
Ah!
She runs away and is soon picked up by Hawkins and Sartain. Hawkins hits Michael with his car, and just as he is about to deliver a finishing blow, Sartain goes crazy. What? He throws Michael into the back of the car with Ellison and drives the duo to Laurie's place. Michael wakes up and kills Sartain along with some cops while Ellison flees the scene.
Howdy ho, it's Weasel Stomping Day!
Moments later, Ray is killed by Michael, leaving only Laurie and Karen in the house to fend for themselves, which Laurie does quite well. They hide in her fallout bunker/basement for a bit before Laurie heads back upstairs to hunt Michael. After an intense search, Michael confronts Laurie, knocking her off a balcony. Ellison arrives at the house calling for help, which distracts Michael long enough for Laurie to disappear in the same manner as he did 40 years prior after being shot by Dr. Loomis. Karen retrieves Ellison while Michael figures out their hiding spot, ripping the door wide open with his bare hands. Karen plays with Michael.
I'm sorry, I can't do it!
Gotcha.
Laurie pulls off her best Michael impersonation.
Happy Halloween, Michael.
They trap Michael inside the basement before burning the house down.
And it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire. The ring of fire.
From there, they are picked up by a truck driving as the house burns. But is Michael still in it? Or has he pulled off one of his infamous disappearing tricks? Well, given that there are going to be 2 follow-ups to this movie, clearly he isn't dead. Or is he? Nevertheless, I really have to hand it to Green and the rest of the crew for making the best Halloween film since Season of the Witch. I'm sure having both Carpenter and Curtis on board helped, but their hard work paid off as we got an incredible horror film that not only returns Michael back to his roots of being something supernatural in the guise of a man, but a film that is suspenseful, builds up its characters, and makes you want to see them live, and tense. There was a lot of love put into this one, and it shows. Not to mention all the fantastic nods to the movies of the past, be it the backyard Oscar and Ellison sneak into belonging to the Elrods, the joke about canceling Halloween, the silver shamrock-like skeleton, witch, and jack-o'-lantern costumes, to the bathroom scene with Dana in the gas station being reminiscent to the rest stop from H2O, 2 cops talking about banh mi sandwiches in one scene feels parallel to the 2 joke cops in Halloween 5, though nowhere near to their level of stupidity.
You want to see what I brought?
Yeah, I do want to see what you brought.
Chocolatey homemade brownie. I made that myself.
That's like what a 5-year-old would eat if they could make their own lunch.
And of course the joke about Michael and Laurie being siblings. There is so much care that went into this film that I cannot help but love it. One of the best things about it though is that it doesn't solely rely on cheap jump scares as most horror movies these days do. This feels like a combination of modern horror tactics with the techniques used in the 70s. It is by no means a perfect horror film, but it is one of the best ones to come out of the last decade and the 3rd best Halloween film. The dialogue is snippy when it needs to be, and the cast all have fantastic chemistry with one another. The only negative I do have beyond the peanut butter penis diatribe is in regards to Sartain. I get what they were going for with his sudden impulse to kill Hawkins and take Michael to Laurie, but it feels out of left field. We never saw Sartain on screen enough to see how obsessive his work was to the point that he would be willing to murder someone just to further his own agenda. Again, I understand what the motivation was, it just needed to be fleshed out better or something. Perhaps they could have spent an extra 5 minutes developing Sartain and trimmed down a few scenes that were not important to the overall plot, as this clearly was. Like, as much as I love the scene with Vicky and Julian, it's not as vital to the story given that Vicky dies anyway. I'm glad it is there because it gets us to see what a great person Vicky is, however, in the long run, it's meaningless. Or hell, remove the scene of the 2 cops talking about banh mi because that most certainly wasn't needed, nor was the first scene with Hawkins playing the Back to the Future pinball game. Anyway, with the negative out of the way, as I said, Halloween 2018 is full of suspense, tension, and atmosphere. The big climactic scene in the last act inside Laurie's house is just fantastic. It's what the last act of H2O should have been. You really get a sense of how much Michael's attack on her in 78 really messed her up, and given that it was the 70s, she was most likely told just to shrug it off and get back to normalcy or face dire consequences from society. It's quite sad when you consider how much the situation screwed her up. It also helps that Curtis was clearly giving it her all in this installment compared to H2O, where it just seems she was doing it for a paycheck. Curtis is truly the standout, which is to be expected given the story is meant to revolve around her, though I do feel that Madachek's performance as Allison goes by ignored despite her holding just as much of a presence as Laurie does. Her grandmother is royally messed up, her mother is just as traumatized and trying to break her trauma, while Allison is stuck there trying to figure the two of them out while living her own life, and Madachek plays off all of this effectively, yet is overshadowed by Curtis, given Curtis is the face of the franchise next to Michael. Speaking of Michael, the camera work for the scenes when he goes on his vicious rampage killing spree is superb. I could watch this scene repeatedly for hours on end and never get sick of it. It flows so well as if it was all done in one take, and I especially love the bit when he watches a woman talking on her phone from her living room when the camera stays focused on the room as you see Michael's shadow walking down the alleyway to the side as he enters the house to kill the woman. It also helps the scene is enhanced by its wonderful creepy score that the franchise is best known for. John Carpenter helmed the score with his son Cody and godson Daniel Davies, whose dad was the guitarist to a band called The Kinks. The remixed Halloween theme song is incredible. But I have to say my favorite track is this one. I just love the guitar riff that strays from the rest of the music as if it is a rebellious string not following orchestral protocol. Lastly, I wanted to mention that I adore the opening credits where we see a flattened pumpkin inflate new life into itself. It's a perfect representation of this entire franchise, one that was beaten to death and has been resuscitated into something new. I can go on for hours at how much I love this installment, but alas, I must bid you adieu. I hope you guys have a great Halloween no matter what you choose to do, and let us hope that the follow-ups to this movie are just as good and keep the momentum this one induced going. Until next time, bye.
Fun begin. Bash their weaselly skulls right in.